Good evening. Welcome to this Sunday, this late Sunday afternoon, in which we again bask or enjoy the warmth of a summer evening, cognizant that there are storms that buffet others. There are those who are suffering from want and from separation and loneliness and fear and danger, whether in Kabul or whether in the parks and streets of our own cities. And yet we still rejoice that we have some weeks left in which all of us might be warm, both in climate and by the words and touch that we share with each other. Last week we shared a bit about how one takes in and eats and becomes that which one eats, how Jesus becomes part of us. And this week we have a little different image, and yet I think it's all moving us toward a similar place. This week we talk about what do we put on ourselves, how do we dress ourselves for what I would call the work and the battles of salvation. St. Paul, or someone in Paul's name, tells us how to dress ourselves and what to put on ourselves in order to face the world and perhaps to face what is not worldly. And it occurs to me that in some traditions, we get up in the morning and we do things like say, here's what I'm going to do today, here's what I'm going to wear. Our Dominican life, for example, has a prayer for each part of our habit that we put on. And those prayers relate to how to make the symbols of what we wear remind us and reflect on every day and every moment of every day what our vocation is. Those of us who are priests, in addition, have prayers that we say as we vest for the Eucharist. Each item we put on is not just fancy dress. It is something that is intended to remind us and tie us in a physical way to the realities that we confront. Now, many of us in both religious life and in the priesthood have become a bit slack in doing this, and we tend to throw things on and get ready and go out. But that, of course, is not what's intended. Because, see, all of our symbols, all of the things we wear and ingest and become part of are intended to be a whole that draw us and every part of us more deeply and closely into the realities that we claim we believe in. Paul today, or Deutero Paul, or whoever it is in the epistle to the Ephesians, or to whomever it really was addressed, uses some images that he gets close to in other epistles, but here it's very, very definite, and he says, be strong in the Lord and the strength of his power, put on the whole armor of God, so that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For our struggle is not against the enemies of blood and flesh, but against darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore take up the whole armor of God, so that you may be able to withstand on that evil day, and having done everything, to stand firm. Stand therefore, and fasten the belt of truth around your waist, and put on the breastplate of righteousness. As shoes for your feet, put on whatever will make you ready to proclaim the gospel of faith. whatever will make you ready. I'm here with you, and I'm not sure what will make me ready. And yet I know that the only way to find it is to reach out and to embrace those things I do not know. To leave myself vulnerable while thinking about all of the armor I will put on, to know that the armor is not protective. In the real sense, no, it does not shield me. It informs me of my weakness, of our weakness, and of our ability and our requirement to reach out to a world which can be threatening. And yet then, to remind ourselves that the real armor we put on is not an armor at all, it's a robe. As Ephraim says, it's the same robe that Jesus put on. He gave up his divinity in order to put on our humanity in that robe of glory that was lost sometime by our sin, is present to us. We don't know how it is or what it is, but we do know that it requires us not to be protected, not to be safe, not to be pious, not to be exemplars of the church and of the holy, but to be those who, like Jesus, shed everything in order to become all that his Father asked. This is such a difficult lesson this week. This lesson that asks us to put on a reality that is almost beyond our understanding and to allow it to change us. To put on this robe of flesh. So contradictory, in a sense, to this robe or these elements of armor. The resolution, I think, is in the sentence from Paul about the whole armor of God, the full armor of God. It doesn't mean that I got everything I need. It doesn't mean I accumulate all of the things that protect me and arm me. No, it means that I put on Christ as Christ put on me. He made himself vulnerable in order to make me be with him in whatever it is. And the fullness is not protective. It is simply all. Well, I told you this was a complicated reading. I hope that there have been some thoughts that awaken in you ideas and dreams and visions and conflicts that bring you further, as they bring me further into this holy darkness in which there is a modicum of holy light that draws and summons, expects, promises, and challenges. Us to understand how putting on flesh and taking it off are parts of the same reality. A reality into which we are called with no easy answers.